welcome or welcome back to the Feel Your Feelings podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Makanjuola, and today I am joined by Gordon Wayne. Okay, so guys, Gordon is a law student at the University of Georgia, and I found out about him while watching TV at home with my parents. We were watching ABC World News Tonight, and Gordon, I saw your story. You were like featured as the person of the week, and so you walked. You walked from your hometown in Caroline County, Virginia, to law school at the University of Georgia in Athens. And first of all, I was shook. I was like, this guy walked that distance. And and basically your message at the end to keep going really resonated with me. And so I was like, I have to reach out to him and have him on my podcast. So first and foremost, thank you for being here. And how are you feeling?
Well, thank you for having me and helping me to spread our message of just belief in others. And I'm doing pretty well. Been busy with a lot of work recently. Um, and I actually just visited the hospital last week.
Okay.
I'm doing a lot of catching up, but we're feeling good and healthy. And now I'm back like I never left.
Absolutely. I can see you. I see all the books behind you. I see, you got your suit on, so you're ready to go. You're very studious. So I appreciate this hustle that you have. So I know you're in law school right now. So what made you want to study law?
Yeah, so I believe having the legal background will
Hmm.
enable, like, the reason why I'm here is to work towards ending homelessness, and I
Yeah.
want to empower those who are powerless, be the voice of those who don't have a voice.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that lawyers may not typically do, but it's something that lawyers certainly have the capacity to do if they choose to, and that's 100% what I'm going to choose to do.
Absolutely. And so, okay, another aspect of your story is I saw that you were living in your car in your hometown in Virginia and you decided to walk. So this wasn't your first trip walking. You had walked to your college, Boston College for undergrad from Virginia to Boston.
That's right.
So like can you kind of like walk me through your journey a little bit of how you got from like, living in your car to like walking to your university?
Yeah, most definitely. So, going out of high school, I didn't really have a place to go, and so I bought a car with all the money I had. Only had $6.25 left over afterward for a month.
Wow.
Um, and so during that time, I felt a lot of depression and isolation.
Mhm.
Didn't really know what my purpose on this earth was.
Yeah.
But after some real deep soul searching, I realized that I knew I still had a positive contribution to give to the world and all the people in it. I didn't know what it was yet, but
Yeah.
I resolved to give everything I had to better myself and those around me. And so
Yeah.
I started working 60-hour weeks at my job. I enrolled in community college while still working full time
Mhm.
once the summer finished up. And after, so a year later, I got word that I'd been accepted to Boston College on a full
Yeah.
scholarship.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And so
Yeah.
I felt incredible relief. But after a few minutes of just thinking, I realized that
Dang,
there
how am I
were,
going to get there?
well, that
Yeah.
too. But first, what I realized was all the other people out there who would still be going through what I was
Mhm.
still going through at that time.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And that while I knew I was going to have a stable shelter to sleep in,
Mhm.
fresh food to eat,
Yeah.
I knew there were going to be so many people out there who still weren't going to have the opportunity to not only have those things, but to reach their full potential. And so I wanted to do something to serve them, but I didn't really know what it was for a while. But then near the end of July, finally I got the idea, and it all just clicked at once to walk to Boston and to promote a fundraiser for the National Alliance to End Homelessness through my social media.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
2 weeks later, I was on my way.
Yeah.
And I definitely had no idea what I had signed up for. It was quite the challenge, to say the least. I had blisters all over my feet.
Yeah.
Um, I wasn't able to walk as far as I had. I thought I could do like 50 miles a day.
And
Um,
you arrived after 16 days, am I right?
yeah, 16 days.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I still averaged 36 miles a day.
Yeah.
Um, but like I was I was broken by the end of that,
Yeah.
to say the least. Like my back.
Dude, I'm sure you had to have some good shoes on too, by the way. Like the
Yeah,
shoe,
I had to
yeah,
swap out my shoes on like
literally.
day 3 because I was wearing boots and
Yeah.
not they were not conducive to taking care of my feet, to say the least.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm curious to know what you went through specifically like while walking, during in the different terrain and different weather and everything. But I'm more so curious to know like what did your family think around that time of you like walking to school?
Yeah,
Did you
so
have
that's
their
a
support?
complicated situation for
Yeah.
sure. Um, but so I have a twin sister, and
Wow. I,
she
I have a
was
sister also. We're not twins, but we're a year apart. Yeah.
that's pretty close.
Yeah.
I'm sure y'all went through a lot of the same stuff together.
Yeah.
Um, but so she was going through a lot of personal issues at the time.
Hmm.
Like she was transferring schools, and she was just having some personal issues.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too deep into that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
um, she was just taken aback by what I was doing. But at the same time, she wasn't that surprised. Yeah, that's a really good question, though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because I try to put myself in other people's shoes as well. If I told my parents like, "Hey, I wanna walk to uh, California. I'm going to USC, you guys, in Southern California, and I'm here in Dallas." So of course they would look at me like, "Are you kidding me? Like you're female, you're young, you're like, they all these different things would come up, But
Hmm.
every family is unique and different in that way. But going back to like the your actual journey. So you had to walk. So for the second part, so after you walked to Boston,
Hmm.
now you're in law school and you walked to Athens, Georgia, and you walked through Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and on ABC World News, you had to walk day and night on train tracks through the mud and different weather situations. Like, what was
Hmm.
that like? Like, what was a day like for you walking?
Yeah, well, so this time I knew what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
And one thing I knew would be a significant challenge was the heat. Like, we're
Hmm.
talking the middle of
It's
July,
hot in the South. Yeah.
maybe the
Yeah.
hottest month.
July. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so, pretty early on, I realized that walking at night would actually be better for me because there's less traffic.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, it's it was like 70 degrees most nights, which is
Hmm.
about a pretty perfect temperature, I would say.
Hmm.
Um, and like, although there's an increased risk of cars not seeing me at all,
Right.
um, like I said earlier, there's less cars coming past me. So, um, and one other change um, was that there was much less of a shoulder for me to walk on. There were some times where I was literally walking on the road, like within the lanes that
Hmm.
cars drive on, because there was no shoulder for me to walk on. And so for the weather, both times I was actually very blessed with the weather. Um, like on the way to Boston, I think there were like 2 or 3 days where there was heavy rain
Hmm.
out of 21. That's not very bad.
Yeah.
And then on the way down here, um, there was even less rain. I think it
Yeah.
rained once or twice. Um, and since I was walking at night, it was never too hot unless I
Yeah.
had to walk too long into the day. So
Hmm.
there were 2 days where I walked 38 miles. On those days, I was starting to feel the heat near the end of the journey.
Hmm. Hmm.
But because it was near the end, I knew I just had to push through
Right.
and get to my resting point for the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, did you have on reflecting gear? Because I know you said you were walking at night. Did you have any like on your shoes, like on your clothes or your backpack?
Yeah, I had a vest on, which it was partially covered with my GoPro camera. That
Uh-huh.
side note, I was so on this journey, I was recording a series for the National Alliance to End Homelessness. That's on their YouTube channel,
Okay.
which I thought
Okay.
was really awesome. They
Yeah.
try to educate the public on homelessness
Yeah.
through the journey. Um, and I had a headlamp on. The headlamp
Yeah.
was the main like attention drawing
Hmm.
piece of equipment I
Yeah.
had for cars to be able to see me.
Yeah. That's wild to me. To me, that's wild. Like, did you ever find like people to be kind to you on your journey to Georgia? Because I noticed, you're a young man and you're walking, and you probably see different things on your way. Maybe people talk to you. Were people nice to you? Did they ask you questions about what you were doing? Did you ever feel unsafe on your way there?
Great question, by the way. Um,
Thanks.
and so after I tell you about this, I want to tell you something on my journey to Boston too.
Okay.
Um, but so there were a lot of times people were honking at me. Um, there were sometimes like I remember the last day there was this big 18-wheeler
Yeah.
just blaring his horn for like 10 or 15 seconds, and he gave me absolutely no space whatsoever. I thought he was gonna hit me. So, like I actually had to get off the road. Most of the time I try to stand my ground and just stay in my lane. Um, there were a few times it seemed uneasy for sure. People just like gesturing to me like, "What are you doing?" Because they obviously didn't
Road
understand.
rage. Yeah.
Yeah, I experienced some road rage for sure, but it's not too surprising. Anything on the road gets people mad. So,
Yeah.
um, but there were definitely some good moments. Like I remember, um, so there's this time in Virginia near Danville. Um, this guy he pulls up to me. He's a Southern guy. He has a thick accent, and he's
Mhm.
like, "You need a lift jack." And then I was like, no, no, I'm good. Like I explained to him what I was doing really quick, and I kept going. And like 15 minutes later, he pulls back up, and he has a bunch of snacks for me, a Gatorade, which I was out of water on that day, so
Yeah.
he was an angel for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a good thing. I thought that story was about to go left or something, like he flashed a weapon or something. So, God forbid.
yeah, that would have been crazy.
Right, exactly.
Um,
That's good that you
and
encountered.
there's this other time in South Carolina. It's like 4 a.m. at
Yeah,
night.
yeah,
I just walked for like 15 or 16 miles in a row.
yeah.
So I took a break at this gas station. I was just sitting outside, and there were two separate people who came up to me and asked me what I was doing. So I gave them a quick rundown, and then they both just gave me money. Like I didn't even ask or anything. Gave me a total of like $60 or $70 just out of
Okay.
nowhere. That I was able to later donate to the fundraiser. Um, Completely unexpected, um, but very kind to say
Yeah.
the least.
Hi there, how are you feeling? It's me, Victoria, host of the podcast. And when I first started podcasting, I was super scared and nervous about the way I sounded, the way I looked, the way people would receive me. But using Zencaster has been a really helpful way for me to become more confident and express myself as a creator. So with Zencaster, you can record up to 4K quality in video, regardless of your audio and Wi-Fi quality. You can save files in the cloud recording, and you can adjust your audio and noise levels in the sound section. Go to zencaster.com/pricing and use my code Victoria15, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencaster paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences that I do for my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. You feel me? That's
So,
fantastic.
so getting to the Boston story.
Mm-hmm.
So crazily enough, the start to all this like media attention
Yeah.
was just someone's kind act. So I remember I was walking in Maryland. I was near the border of Pennsylvania, and on this day I was walking 45 miles. So that was more than I ever walked on this trip
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that was insane that I was doing
Mhm.
that much. That to put in perspective, that's like 16 hours straight with no breaks.
Were you
So
tracking your mileage, by the way? Like on a watch or on your phone? How were you tracking your miles?
um like so one key thing to keep in mind is like battery conservation. Um
Yeah.
so like initially on the first journey I had like a map my run um like thing tracking me, but it was killing my phone. So
Mhm. Mhm.
after that I relied on like the steps app in the phone and just using Google Maps to see like how far I was going,
Right.
because it was much more energy efficient.
Yeah.
But anyway, on this day,
Yeah.
like it's getting really rough. Like my blisters were already brutal by this point, so every step is hurting, and um, it's starting to get super dark out. And this is back when I didn't have any reflective gear
Mhm.
or any headlamp, anything like that. And so I remember just screaming out to the heavens, like just begging for help. I still had at least 3 hours left.
Yeah.
Um, and then, like 15 or 20 minutes later, this middle aged couple pulls up
Mhm.
and they asked me if I need a ride. I told them no, obviously. And then, but they really seemed like they want to help. Apparently, they had seen me earlier in the day on their way to go on a date,
Mhm.
like maybe 5 or 6 hours earlier. And so seeing me again just compelled them to stop. And so um, they went they went out and got me some McDonald's. They went and bought my hotel room for the night, which
Wow.
I didn't expect. And then they reached out to the local news. It was the York Fox station in Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
because I was near the border. And so the
Yeah.
next day I got interviewed by them. And then that's the interview that ABC World News saw, and
Okay.
um, which led to their coverage, and so many other people hearing my story like you. So
Yeah.
hearing our story,
Yeah.
because this mission is much greater than just me, and I was only able to finish because other people were behind me and I could feel their spirit with me.
Absolutely. That part of the story of your story really stuck with me, that it being like larger than you. And I noticed that your GoFundMe for the National Alliance to End Homelessness raised over $194,000. So first of all, congratulations! Like
Thank
that's
you.
an incredible accomplishment.
We're
Um,
actually over 200K now total.
right. I was gonna ask like what's the update on it now, because this was back in like this was in September, like
Mm-hmm.
end of September. So
Um,
still doing good.
like so, it's two separate GoFundMe's. So
Yeah.
let me calculate how much we're at right now. We're at 207,000 total. So
Amazing.
that's
Amazing.
way more money than I've ever seen. That's
Yeah.
and when I remember when I first started going to Boston, I was just hoping to raise whatever amount I spent on the journey, and
Yeah.
we've definitely exceeded that. So
Yeah.
it's a major success. But at the same time, looking at the entire issue, it's only a drop in the bucket, and I know there's still a lot of work left to be done.
Absolutely. And I actually haven't shared this like, I guess, publicly with anyone, but like my family had experienced houselessness for a while. So we lost our home back in when we were living in Houston. And so we had to move up to the Dallas area to stay with family for a while. And just, living with my auntie, my uncle. This is while I was in high school. So I got like pulled out of high school my senior year and lived with family members. And even before that, we were just kind of, living in different hotel situations. And that was probably my earliest experience with houselessness, I guess. It's crazy I'm even talking about this, but I feel more compelled to talk about it. But yeah, it was a difficult period for me in my family. I was like a teenager. We're in a stable home situation now, thank goodness. But I still look back to those days and just am really grateful for how far that I've come. Um, so I guess how when you look back on your journey, how how do you feel about it? Like, do you feel like grateful? Are you proud of where you're at now, or do you feel like, well, more needs to be done?
It's definitely a combination of the two. Um,
Yeah.
like on one hand, it's hard to believe that I'm in law school. Like just thinking back to where I was, um, it definitely seemed out of reach. Even
Yeah.
going to community college, at one point seemed like it was unattainable. Um, but on the other hand, I just know that there's so many other people out there who can do what I'm doing right now, and I want to give them the opportunity to make that happen. And so until everyone has opportunities that I have been so blessed to have, and which wouldn't have been possible without great people in my life, like my Germana Community College advisor, or all the wonderful people I met up at Boston College, and all the great people down here at the University of Georgia.
Mhm.
Um, I still feel like I haven't done anything until um, I'm part of what makes that possible for everyone else.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what you told me and the masses is to keep going, right? You know, so just got to keep going, got to keep pushing. So yeah,
But
thank you for sharing that with me. I definitely resonate with your cause, and also with mental health. This whole podcast being about mental health, you know, um, yeah. I guess with that, what is one thing that you think is impacting um, Gen Z's mental health at the moment?
another great question.
I'm trying to ask all my guests about that nowadays to incorporate more of the mental health theme into this podcast.
I think we're exposed to so much information
Absolutely.
overload, and
Absolutely.
we don't really know what to listen to,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be overwhelming to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I think that's why it's important to have, like, for everyone to have their own core beliefs to help shape like how we respond to all the information that comes towards us. Like to have specific goals in mind. Like for example, my three goals that I've lived by ever since I turned 18 were, for number one, to make a significant positive impact on the world. Number two, to create a loving family. And number three, which personally I don't believe I'll ever achieve, but I think the best goals that we can have are ones that we can always strive towards, is to deserve to go to heaven, um, which I already failed, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
put my best foot forward and do my best.
Yeah.
We can always do our best.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I have some more questions for you for the speed round. So I think you'll really like these. So let me know if you're ready for them.
Let's go.
Okay, so they're just you can answer in like one or two word sentences, you know, short and sweet. Okay, so
Okay.
first question for you is what's the last song that you listened to?
Let me find that.
You can check.
The last song I listened to was "Free Bird." The
Bye.
funny thing, I actually was listening to that song like on repeat when I was getting close to the end
Mm-hmm.
of a day.
Who's it by?
It's by Leonard Skinner. It
Interesting.
has a sick guitar riff on it.
Okay.
It's from back in the '60s, I think.
Okay.
Um, but it's like a 9 minute long song. So I
Nice.
knew if I listened to it three times, it would take up 30 minutes, which is a mile and a half. So
Nice.
that would be a really good motivating. Oh, I know that it's only one or two
No,
sentences.
it's fine. It's fine. I actually like hearing more, you know, more about it. So that's cool. That's cool. Okay. I finished this sentence. I truly believe that.
I truly believe that everyone is a good person and
Mm,
deserves every opportunity to succeed.
I love that. I like that. My favorite book is.
These are good.
There's a lot of them behind you now.
Unbroken.
Ooh.
They also made a movie about it.
I think
Um,
I think I've heard of that. Who's it? Who's the author?
I don't know. Let me look that up.
Hmm.
But it's about it's Laura Hillenbrand,
Interesting.
but it's a story about resilience.
Okay. It sounds familiar. Like maybe like was it a war movie?
It was about a World War II.
Okay. Okay, yeah. That's like the first thing that
He
came
was
to my
initially
mind.
an Olympian, and then he was a prisoner of war in the
Okay.
Japanese camp.
Okay. Wow. In 2 words, I would tell my younger self too.
Keep going.
I love that. I love that. Okay, and my last question for you is right now I feel.
I feel inspired.
Mm, love that. Keep that energy. Keep that same energy. I love that. Absolutely. And I feel really blessed to have been able to chat with you today, Gordon. So thank you so much for taking the time out to be on my podcast and for talking to me.
Of
I
course.
appreciate you.
And one
Where
thing
can
I'd just
oh
like to
go ahead.
add,
Go ahead.
just thinking about Gen Z,
Yeah.
like I think we need to accept failure,
Mm,
see it as an opportunity to learn and to grow.
absolutely.
And failure can include like just making the wrong decision and also just going through something tough that you might not be responsible for at all. But it's going through those painful situations that really force us to grow, that allow us to become the best version of ourselves.
Absolutely. I love that you said that because I consider myself a perfectionist. A perfectionist in progress. So I'm taking classes at USC, and one of my classes, our professor asked us what our goals were for the class, and I said to embrace failure. And like literally, it's like not putting too much pressure on myself if I don't know something, if I don't feel like I'm good enough or like smart enough or whatever it is, like just it's okay. Like embrace failure. You've done this before, you can do it again. So I love that you said that. So thank you for sharing that. Where can
Yeah,
my no, go
when we
ahead.
fail, it means we're taking risks, which means
Yeah.
we're putting
Yeah.
ourselves out there.
It's so uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable, but there is growth like through the failure. So it's
Being
something
uncomfortable means we're growing.
I'm still learning that. Still learning that.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, if you want to be a true perfectionist, then
yeah,
you should be failing.
yeah, that's a good one. That's you're just dropping gems. Like, yeah. Where can my listeners find you? And also, how can they support your GoFundMe for the National Alliance to End Homelessness?
Yeah, so the GoFundMe's still up. I'll keep it up for the rest of the year. Um, it's called Uplift. Let me make sure I get it exactly right.
Yeah.
Uplift Beautiful Souls.
Okay. And I'll link it in the description as well.
All right, I want to make sure I get the.
Yeah.
So there's two of them. One of them is like expired by now, because that one's the one from 2020 when I walked in
Okay.
DC.
Oh,
But this
okay.
one is
Write that
Uplift
down too.
Beautiful Souls Escaping Homelessness.
I'm like writing that down too, so I don't forget.
And
Uplift
then
beautiful souls, escaping. Okay.
yes,
Okay.
and then you can follow me on Instagram. It's just my name, Gordon C. Wayne. Um, I post it every day on the journey, and some people said it was inspiring to them, which I appreciated. Um, and then I'd also check out the YouTube series, where I tried to, like, along with the walk, make it educational so people understood more about homelessness and the response. Homelessness prevention advocates are embarking on.
What's the name of your YouTube page?
But so it's not mine. It's the National Alliance to End Homelessness.
Oh, okay, got you.
And there's a series
Okay,
y'all can find on there.
awesome. Okay, well, I'm gonna link all of that. Yeah, please send me the links, and I'm gonna link all of them in the description. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I wish you nothing but the best in your journey in law school and fighting for this cause and continuing to do what you're doing. So yeah, thank you. And don't forget to be a kind person, you guys. You feel me? Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.